Hello, everyone. Amanda Prope, certified life coach, here to talk with you today about another model that I am working through to show you once again a different way that we can work through these types of models when we're comparing them one to another. So, the last one that I did for you was based off of a scripture that I was studying. This time it's based off of a goal that I'm working on. And so, I wanted to show this to you to see how there's this gap between where I currently am and where I want to be. And then kind of this, even though you can't see it because it's so very close, it's called the river of misery in between, is the way that we reference it in life coaching. Because it's really uncomfortable to go from where we've been, probably for years, to where we want to be. But so I wanted to share this journey with you as I'm working through it because this certain situation just came to my attention based off of a goal that I really want to work on this year. And yet I've been struggling with it. We're 3 months in, and I just find that I really haven't made much progress on it. So, my goal, one of my goals this year, is to connect with my husband. And that connection for me could be in many different ways. It could just be a hug. It could be saying, I love you sincerely. It could be snuggling for a few minutes before we go to bed at night. Um, it could show up in lots of different ways. And I allowed it to be open like that. But I still find myself not connecting in the way that I want to. And when I was having a coaching session with my coach last week, she really opened it up for me. And we were able to discover this based off of something that I had found from a previous session. And so I have the circumstance. So remember, we have the model, we have our circumstances, which are the facts, we have our thoughts about those facts. Then our thoughts create our feelings drive our actions, and our actions create our results in our life, right? So this one kind of gets a little tricky because, like I said, I wanted to show you where I'm at currently and where I'm trying to be and where I want to be. And so there's a little bit of lots of information, lots of thoughts on here. So I have my goal, which is my circumstance, and it is a circumstance because factually that is what I want to create in my life. So I want to connect with my husband. And one of my thoughts that I had about that was the fact that my husband wants me to need him. I think every man wants to be needed, right? Well, I discovered recently, in the last couple of weeks, that I have a very deeply held belief from things that happened in my childhood that it's kind of weak to want to need somebody. And so I have this thought currently that I am a strong woman because I don't need anyone. And so when I have this underlying thought from this thought that so I want to connect with my husband, but my thought is he wants me to need him. And my underlying thought is I've been a strong woman because I don't need anyone. That creates this feeling for me of resistance. And so I finally discovered why I haven't been able to make the connection that I really want to make with my husband because I am resisting needing somebody. I don't want to feel like I need somebody. Isn't that fascinating? Like that I couldn't see that on my own. And so the way that that shows up for me is that I realized that I'm not asking for help. I am not wanting help from him. I actually resent the help that he gives me if it's not in the way that I want it done. Like the help that he does give me is not sufficient, and because it wasn't what I actually wanted. And so those actions allow me to stay in this cycle of kind of almost being on a constant irritation or resistance with him. And so I don't allow myself to need him. I don't allow myself to connect with him in the way that he wants. And so I haven't created that deep connection that I want. And so my result is that I'm just continuing to live this cycle that I've been living for the last 8, 9 years that we've been married, right? And there was a reason why I wanted to change that because I want to feel more connected with him. I want to feel that on a deeper level. And so when I was pondering this and when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, well, what can make me feel different than this resistant? Because I can see that being resistant to him wanting me to need him is not helping me get the result that I'm wanting in any way, shape, or form. So the thought that I came up with is that, so beyond the thought of my husband wants me to need him, and I kind of have this sub thought, I'm an even stronger woman because I'm allowing myself to need him. Now, that might not feel good to anybody else, and that's fine because this is my model. Maybe it does strike some of you and it connects with you. But for me, that shows a willingness to just love him in the way that he wants to be loved, right? Like there's certain ways I want him to love me, and how wonderful would that be if he's willing to do that? And so when I think I'm an even stronger woman because I'm allowing myself to need someone because that's how he feels loved, that brings openness to me. Instead of being resistant to wanting him or to wanting him to need me, him wanting me to need him, sorry, it gets a little confusing in my mind. It brings a beautiful openness where I'm totally open to how can I let him into my life and allow him to feel needed by me? What can I do to help him feel needed by me? And so those are going to be my new actions. This is where I was talking about there's kind of this river of misery, right? So this is where I currently am. And this is what I've been living in for the last 9 years that we've been married. And even this thought that I've had, this has been 35 years in the making. I am 41, and this is 35 years in the making of I am a strong woman because I don't need anyone. So this is a very deeply held, it's kind of ingrained in me. And so it's really hard to kind of loosen that. But finding this beautiful thought definitely helps me to release my grip on it. But it still doesn't mean that my actions are going to change like that, right? I still find myself, even this weekend, after I had this big aha, of getting easily irritated at him and not doing the things that I told myself that I was going to do, right? So in those moments when I notice that I haven't acted in the way that I wanted to, I don't berate myself and I don't beat myself up. I just say, of course I acted that way because that's the way I've been acting for 35 years. And so I have compassion for myself. And then I went to my husband and I apologized to him and I connected with him because then I hugged him and I allowed myself to be vulnerable and to be open with him, right? And so it creates this openness and it allows me to look for ways that I can actually make that connection with him. I actually am wanting to make that connection with him, where before I was resisting it. Anytime he was trying to do something, to make me feel like I needed him or something, like I was totally resistant to it. And now I'm just open to it. Does it mean I'm going to do it perfect all the time? Absolutely not. And so that's where this river of misery is going to be, because there's going to be times where I'm going to be able to catch myself in the moment and I'm going to be able to allow that openness and meet. And there's going to be times where my brain is just so used to it that I'm going to be like, nope, that's not happening. But then I can go back and be like, oh, of course I did it that way. And then go back to him. And so what my result will be eventually could take just several weeks. It could take several months. This is a process, right? It is growth. It is uncomfortable. When we grow, it is uncomfortable. But my result that I'm hoping for is the fact that I'm looking for ways to need my husband and that I can actually make that real connection with my husband that I am looking for. So just like I have created a deep connection with myself now and love myself, now wanting to do that with my husband since I've done the work on myself. And so I'm so grateful for this insight that my coach was able to help me see, because even though I'm a coach, like when you're in it, like when your emotions are in it, you really have a hard time pulling yourself back. And that's why working with a coach can be so beautiful, because they can help you take that 360-degree view and kind of pull that emotion out of it and just help you to examine just a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And so this is a beautiful model that I'm going to be working on for some time, but I am grateful for the result that I saw that I'm creating for myself and why I'm not getting any traction on this goal that I am working on this year and that I want to change. And now I'm grateful that for the next 9 months, I've got plenty of time. And I know that by the end of this year, that this is going to be more of my result than this, because I was made aware of this underlying thought that I was thinking. And because now I can create the feeling that I actually want that will drive the actions that I need to be able to create the result that I want in my life. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for being with me.